Hey Box users, I'm Alex, a developer advocate here at Box, and today we're going to talk about Box skills and how you can use machine learning to bring value to your content. Let's go! Alright, to start out, I'd like to go over the typical Box implementation and architecture flow that we see. I have three boxes here, blue, red, and green. On the left, the blue box represents Box, where we have a folder. Anytime an item is uploaded, moved, or copied into that folder, the Box skill will trigger and send a content payload over to the red box, a serverless function. The serverless function can live in any cloud provider, AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. The serverless function accepts the content payload and sends the content over to a machine learning provider in the green box. The machine learning provider will process the file and send back any information that you requested. In this example, as a resume parser, looking for like the name, education, job history, etc. The serverless function will then process the information and write back the information as a metadata template on the file in Box. You can also save the information as a Box skills card. To show you what that looks like, I'm going to use an invoice. The skills cards will appear under the menu option that looks like a wand and says skills. Here we see information for the invoice. As I stated earlier, you can also save the information on a metadata template, as shown here. The reason I show both is due to searchability. If you want to be able to search, and what I mean by search is using the main Box web app search, you can search by a metadata template by selecting metadata, a metadata template in the dropdown, and entering any information for the particular content you're looking for, which in this case would be an invoice. Now I've shown flows or talked about resume parsers or invoice parsers, but Box Skills doesn't stop there. It can process videos, audio, look for celebrities and images, look at floor plans, and respond back with any floor plan that has 4 or more bedrooms. The possibilities are endless. And today I'm going to walk you through setting up a Hello World Box skill. To start off setting up our Box skill, I'm going to create a new folder. I'll click New and Folder, and I'm going to title it Hello World Box skill. Next, I want to go over to the developer console to create an app. If you've never been to the developer console before, you can actually go to the developer site, developer.box.com. And on the main homepage in the header image, you can click Go to Dev Console if you're already logged into Box, or if not, there'll be a sign in or sign up button here. Once you're in the developer console, click Create New App, followed by Box Custom Skill, and then give your app a name. Click Create App. Our app is now created. I now need to authorize it, and to do this, you'll need to be an administrator of your Box instance, or if you're using your free developer account, you should already be the admin. I'm going to take the client ID and go over to the skills section of the admin console. You can get here by typing -skills at the end of the admin homepage. I'm going to click Add Skill, paste in the client ID, click Next. It's going to ask me to select a folder. I'm going to filter by my user and find that folder that I created earlier. Clicking Next and Enable will enable the Box skill. Going back over to the developer console, I'd like to show a few other fields. Under invocation URL, once your serverless function is deployed, you'll get a URL, and this is where you paste that. You can also paste in or type in file extensions that you want to restrict the skills flow to trigger for. So if you're looking at images, you would put things like JPEG, PNG, etc. in this particular box and click Save Changes. Also under security keys, there are 2 keys, a primary and a secondary. This helps make sure that Box is the service calling your serverless function so that no bad actor can be running your code. And I'll show you how this works when we download the code in just a second. To grab the code for the demo, I'll have a link to this repository down in the description box below. I'm going to clone this to my computer. I'll cd into the folder and open up a code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code, but you can use any code editor that you prefer. Today we're going to use GCP, but you are free to use another serverless provider if you wish. I'm also going to open a terminal window up in my code editor, and I'm going to cd into the GCP folder. Now within this code repository, you'll find an index.js file. You'll also find a reference file, but let me speak about the regular one first. So in here, you will find a hello world script. So once we deploy this and upload a file, it'll say hello world in a metadata card. But I've also commented out quite a bit of other information. So while the example we deploy will just write hello world to a metadata card, this also has code for writing back the different types of box skills cards that I talked about earlier. After we've downloaded the code locally and we have set up a folder and we've authorized and created a skill, the next part is to actually set up the serverless function. Depending on your cloud provider, that's going to be different. These repositories use the serverless framework to deploy. And to show that, I'll pull up the documentation. They have documentation for the various providers that you can use. I'm not going to walk through setting up a billing account and creating a project and enabling the APIs. All of those instructions are right here for you to view, and I'll have it linked in the description box below. But I have already set up a project as well as downloaded a JSON credentials file for us to use to deploy the function. Going back to the code, once you've set up, in this example, the GCP project got a JSON key file, we're actually going to copy that over to the folder. So I'm going to put it here in the gcloud file. And then over in the package.json file, you'll actually want to change, any of the information here to match your specific use case. So I'll call this, hello world box skill. I'll change the description. You don't have to update this information, but it's good, if you're going to use this as the basis for a production project in the future. I'll save this file, and then under the serverless section, you will want to do the similar thing. So under service, you'll want to call it whatever you called your project. So going back to the Google Cloud Console, it looks like it's called Hello World Box Skill. So I'm going to copy that over. Actually, some of this information is within your credentials file. So I'm actually going to pull that over here too, so we can see it. Under the project ID, again, it's the same information. So I'm going to copy paste that over here. The file path, a cool way to grab this, you can drag the file into the terminal and it will list out the file path for you, which is, I think, super cool. So I'm going to copy that and paste that here. And then the primary keys that I talked about earlier, we're going to grab those. The security keys, not primary keys. So going back over to the developer console, I'll copy the primary key, bring it over and paste it in here. And I'll do the same thing with the secondary key. And I'll save the file. Now that we've done this, the next thing to do is install our node packages. So I'll just run npm install. This will take a second. Once this is finished, we can then deploy. Now that the node packages are installed, I'm going to deploy by running SLS deploy. This will take a couple of minutes. the first time that you do this because it is setting up several things, but the next time it should be quicker. All right, if it took more than a couple of minutes, that's okay. At the end, you should see a URL. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go back to the developer console in Box. Go over to the configuration tab and paste this into the invocation URL box and click Save Changes. Before we can test out our skill, there's one more thing that we need to do. We're going to go back to the console for our GCP serverless function, go to Cloud Functions, and we're going to see the function that was deployed. I'm going to click into it. Under Permissions, we're going to click Grant Access. And under Principals, we're going to type in all users. And under Roles, we're going to go under Cloud Functions Invoker. What this does is it allows Box to call the skill publicly from another place. So it doesn't have to live within like your GCP infrastructure. Now we should be able to run the skill. But before we do that, I'm going to go over to the Logs tab and let this load. And when we upload a file, we should also see logs appear here. Okay, so going back to Box, we're going to upload a picture, which is a picture of a quokka, which if you don't know what a quokka is, it is an awesome animal, my favorite animal, in fact, from Australia. So what should happen here is once the file is uploaded, it's going to send it over to GCP, right? And that block of code is going to run, and it's going to write back hello world in a metadata template on the file. So if I click into the file and I go over to metadata, we'll see hello world appear here. And then if we go to the cloud function and reload, we'll be able to see the logs from when the function ran. So you see here the function execution started. This is the content payload that is sent over, the body that we get from Box that the serverless function accepts and uses to grab the file and send it over. And that is how a skill works. Now, like I said at the beginning, a Box skill has a ton of options, tons of opportunity, and it does not stop here. If you want to find out more information, you can actually go to the Box Medium post that I did on skills. This goes over a lot of what I covered today, as well as more information. Thanks for watching this video on Box Skills. If you love the Box Content Cloud and want to see more content, make sure to like this video and click subscribe. You can also follow us at Box Platform. See you soon.